Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, remember to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and comment your thoughts down below. But today we are taking a look at Phil Mickelson's chipping and pitching action to help you guys understand how he is probably the best chipper and pitcher of the golf ball in the last 30 years or so, if not ever. So let's dive in and let's get started. First of all, we're going to have a look at a low chip Phil is hitting, and secondly, we're going to have a look at more of a higher pitch, and then we're going to compare the two to help you understand some of the differences. Also, I will flip some of these around. Obviously, Phil's left-handed, but I'm going to show you it right-handed as well. But first, we're going to have a look at it left-handed. So first of all, Phil Mickelson set up here to this low pitch shot, and there's an important concept that Phil talks about in his chipping and pitching, and that is basically that he either puts the ball in line with his back foot if he's hitting like a lower chip, and he puts the ball in line with his front foot if he's hitting a higher pitch or flop shot. Phil has famously said he never puts the ball in the middle of his stance. I personally don't agree with that, but Phil says basically he's either trying to hit a low shot or a high shot, and he's committing to that, and if it's in the middle, then he's not committing to either shot, which, I mean, for him obviously works and makes a ton of sense. So let's take a look at this first of all. We've got Phil set up here to this low chip. Some good things to note: the shaft is fairly upright. This is good because it's going to stop the heel of the club digging into the ground, so it's going to make it easier to get better contact. Also, if we notice how far down the grip Phil's hands are, they are quite low on the grip, and he has the hands actually very, very close to his body. Now we are going to, if we take the club away slowly, he kind of lifts it straight up, hinges the wrist. If we pause it there, quite a closed club face. Now again, this is because it is a kind of lower running bump and run type little low chip shot, even though it looks like Phil has a fairly high lofted wedge, but he's committing to that lower flighted with less spin and more of a running shot, even though he has a more lofted wedge. So yeah, the club face matches his spine angle here. This is kind of a position you'd think you'd see in like more of a full swing in terms of the club face to the spine angle relation. Normally chipping and pitching, you want to get that club face a little bit more open. But if we also notice how close the shaft is to that left leg of his, extremely close, I mean almost touching his left leg. By the way, Phil will be keeping his weight pretty much on his right foot, so his front foot, so keeping his weight towards the target throughout all of this. Phil talks about liking to try and cover the golf ball, try and drive through it when he's chipping and pitching, so he gets that weight far onto his front side, his right side, because he's left-handed, and drives through it. So as Phil then will drop the club down onto the ball and pop it straight up in the air. Let's have a look at that again, just from the top here. He's gonna let the club, if we slowly play it through, let the club drop down onto the ball, but he's not taking a divot. Even though he's got the ball in line with his back foot, he's actually not taking a divot. And if we play it through one more time, I'm going to show you why he's not taking a divot. If we pause it at the top here, I want you to watch Phil's right shoulder, so his front shoulder. And as he drops the club down, he's actually going to lift that right shoulder. That right shoulder now, if we pause it at impact, from here, the right shoulder is going to come up. And that stops the club from digging into the ground. Now let's play that through one more time from the beginning. So Phil's basically going to hinge the wrists in quite a closed club face, and now from here he's going to slowly turn the body, dropping the club down onto the ball, but lifting that right shoulder up so that the club does not dig into the ground. So if we play this thing through a few times, I'm going to just explain to you how the club is working. It's working down into the ball, then it's working back up. It's not continuing to work down. If this was the ground here, it's not continuing to work down into the ground. It's working down, then up. So he's coming down quite steeply onto the ball, but then it's working back up, which means he gets that clean, crisp strike. And if you notice as well, the club never really passes the hands. He hinges it on the way back, and then he holds it on the way through. There's no real, with this low running shot he's hitting, there's no real release, there's no real manipulation with the hands, but there will be in a second if we take a look at the much higher shot of Phil. So now let's go on to the higher, more of a pitch type shot of Phil's, as he will be hitting here, and then we'll compare the two and see a few differences. So here we have a kind of, looks about a 20-yard pitch, I would say. He's going to that white flag on the left. And if we notice, Phil's stance is open to the ball. His feet in alignment is all open. And he also has the club face pretty open. As he takes the club away, we're going to see a much more open club face with a lot more wrist hinge. If we pause it at the top here, we can see that is a much more open club face. Also a longer swing, because he needs more speed to get that ball up in the air and create that spin. So Phil also carries, I think it's like a 64-degree wedge, and it kind of looks like that's what he's probably hitting here, because this wedge looks super lofted. So he does have a lot of wrist hinge. He does have the face more open, but the weight is still on the left side, still driving through the ball. And important to note, he has his hands still in front of his body and his arms very connected to his body. If we notice, that left elbow of his is nicely connected to his body, and the hands haven't moved too deep in behind him. He's still driving the swing primarily with his shoulder turn, primarily with his body, instead of trying to throw the hands and arms at it or anything like that. As he starts to slowly swing down, we're going to notice he's going to start to release the hands down into the ball, coming through nice and shallow and releasing the club past the hands as he swings through. That ball pops up nice and high. Let's have a look one more time and play this through a few times. So he's opening that face, keeping the face more open, more wrist hinge, and big release as he starts to swing down, clipping that ball. Again, no divots, because if we notice, if we play it through again, he's actually still, if we watch that right shoulder is still going to move up and away as he releases that club kind of underneath the ball. So again, the same sort of thing is happening, where the club is actually coming down in kind of a V, coming down quite steep, but coming up because he's lifting that, well, his front shoulder, his right shoulder, lifting that up and out of the way. Now let's flip these round. Let's have a look at them right-handed quickly, and then we're going to compare the two. By the way, guys, Phil Mickelson, even though he is one of the best chippers and pitchers of the golf ball, and there's a lot to learn by watching him, it's important to note he's never really been that big on his practice. Like, for example, Tiger Woods was huge on his practice, worked insanely hard on his golf swing, his short game, every aspect of his game. Phil never really been like that. He's famously, I think Tiger said he's the most talented player he's ever played with, because he doesn't really do much practice, and he has some of the best hands in the game of golf. And we just did a video on Phil Mickelson's golf swing, by the way, on my channel, so if you haven't seen that, highly recommend checking that out. But that's something you see in his full swing as well. It's kind of funny that, you know, he has a few fairly fundamental swing flaws, and it's funny that he was coached by the same coach as Tiger, Butch Harmon, for most of his career. Butch is one of the best swing coaches in the world, but Butch always said that Phil he listened to him, but he could never really take it on board and do what Butch was asking him to do, because Butch would always ask him to I guess shorten his swing a little bit, keep more width in the swing, which would create a far, far more consistent golf swing. But Phil being Phil, he likes to just hit that ball as far as he possibly can, even if that means he's going to be a little bit more wayward. But he's definitely one of the most talented players in the game in terms of just raw natural talent. So let's flip these around, have a quick look at them right-handed. Let's look at this low running pitch first of all. You're going to notice the same thing we've just talked about. It might be a bit easier to see. He's going to hinge those wrists, closed club face, and he's going to hold on to that hinge. That right shoulder moves up and out of the way, and no divot taken. That ball pops up really nicely. Play it through one more time. And there is a lot to learn from Phil's chipping and pitching, even though he's one of the best in the world, and even though he does things his own way and is just a very talented player, we can still learn a lot. Seve Ballesteros was kind of similar in that he could never really explain how he did something, but you kind of just had to watch how he did it. That's what Pete Cowan says, at least, when he was playing in the same kind of era as Seve, and is obviously one of the best golf coaches in the world now. So there we have Phil's right hand. Now let's look at his right-handed pitch. So we're going to notice again, same sort of thing. He's going to hinge those wrists nicely, get some more speed into it, release it down into the ball as he kind of moves up and out the way and the club passes the hands. Let's have a look one more time. It is very satisfying to watch, I have to say. If I ever get the chance, I definitely want to watch Phil Mickelson on the chipping and pitching area. I mean, if you ever actually go to a professional golfing event, I would highly recommend spending some time around the short game area, because it doesn't really matter who it is. They're all pretty unbelievable around the greens. They're chipping and pitching. It almost looks like they catch the ball a little bit thin each time, and that's just because they catch it so perfectly off that bottom groove. That's how they create so much spin and get that low launch as well. So now let's compare these two. Let's put them back to back, and I'll do it left-handed first of all, and then we'll switch it right-handed. But we're going to notice some pretty fundamental differences of what I've just kind of said. But there are a few key aspects in terms of Phil, well, he keeps that weight pretty much on his front side, driving towards the ball the whole time. And that right shoulder is going to move up and out the way. And the club still comes down in that V, coming down fairly steep, but exiting up and in front of him with both of those swings. It is very impressive. If we have a look at it right-handed now, it is pretty incredible to watch. I absolutely love seeing it. I mean, I could literally watch this all day. There's a lot to learn from it. There's a lot we can do. And it's, another thing to mention is it's good to video yourself hitting these chip and pitch shots. It's something not many of us do, but if you do, it's a fairly simple motion. There's not too many different aspects. There's fundamental things which you can learn yourself and practice yourself. So I highly recommend filming yourself doing that, and you will start to learn and understand why you chunk it, why you thin it, what happens in your swing, and some things to work on around the greens. So guys, epic win from Phil Mickelson at the PGA last week. Let me know what you guys thought of it. Let me know what you think of Phil's chipping and pitching action. I'd love to hear what you have to say in the comments down below. I reply to each and every one, so do comment down below. Give this video a like and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys in the next one. As always, guys, grip it and rip it.